What's going on, folks? It is I, Brandon the Broker, here with another one of these videos that you guys love. Some of you hate. Some of you want me to do some weird videos. Hi, Vigilante Show. No, we're not going to do OnlyFans, girls. We leave that to you and your OnlyFans obsession and stuff like that. Well, anyway, getting on with everything. I did tell you that I was going to give you a little bit of an update before we get into the video. So one of the reasons I'm doing more of these, I'm taking the semester off of school for health reasons. Long story short, found out I have I won't call it a tumor, but we'll call it a growth on the left side of my brain. And that is giving me seizures and a little touch of vertigo. Little touch, kind of like when a volcano goes off and it kind of disturbs your day just a little bit. That's how much it's disturbing me. So as of right now, I'm kind of in and out the hospital and I'm not really doing much of anything else. And look, I just need something to do, keep my mind off of things, because you know, if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry. And I don't really want to cry right now. So we're gonna get in this video. Oh, by the way, if you want me to do what Vigilante Show tells me to do, if you want me to do that kind of stuff, send me Crumble Cash and I'll do it. That's the only way I'll do it. Not cash. I don't need money. I'm actually good on money. It's kind of weird that the flex is, I got this hospital bill, but I could pay it. That's a real flex right there. That's a terrible flex. But anyway, let's get into this. 15 reasons don't study architecture. I could probably give you 50. Let's go.
To study architecture. These are the worst things about architecture school. Number one, it's intense. It's a lot of freaking hard work and you've got to be willing to be ready for this intensivity. Is that a word? Intensivity. Number two is group work, because we all know from some part of our life, whether it be high school or our part-time jobs, we know that group work or teamwork doesn't always go to plan. There's always that one guy.
Yes, and that's usually me right now. That would be me if I didn't, say I'm taking the semester off.
Who doesn't show up. There's always that one guy who doesn't, or girl, I should say, one guy or girl that doesn't do the work that they're supposed to do, and there's always someone who's late, and it just never goes to plan, and group work is the second reason why not to study architecture. Number three is rest. What's that? There's no time for downtime in this intensive subject of architecture. 4, sometimes you forget to eat. The fifth reason not to...
Let me go back on that fourth one. The fourth one is very true. You are going to pull an all-nighter, and because you're pulling that all-nighter, sometimes you will forget to eat, or you will be eating out of the vending machine. So the best thing you can honestly do is bring a small cooler, like one of those lunch pack coolers with you. Bring some snacks, bring a meal or two, bring some drinks that you want to drink. Please don't bring any alcohol in the design studio. That is very unprofessional. I've seen someone do it before. I'm not going to mention where or who, but please don't do that.
Study architecture is because it can be extremely expensive. The main costs are modeling materials, drawing tools, computers is probably the main thing, and then you've got all these other little things such as printing, which is extremely expensive in architecture school, and coffee, because you go through a shit ton of coffee. Antidepressants, we need them in architecture school, they cost a fortune. Number 6 is that you have to be able to take brutal criticism, and that's something a lot of us aren't able to actually do, because if we spend our heart and soul working hours and hours on our projects just to get shat on by our teachers saying that it's absolutely crap, that's disheartening and it does hurt, but you have to be able to take brutal criticism.
So in school, you're going to have desk crits, standing crits. You're going to have all kind of crits and juries. The best thing you can honestly do is not let this stuff get to you. Understand that these things are just them trying to give you positive feedback. Take notes. Take a 5-10 minutes in the bathroom to cry or get mad, punch air, and then go touch grass and get over it. And just take what the teacher, they're trying to challenge you. They're not trying to put you down. Just understand the difference.
in architecture school. Number 7 is that finding a job is extremely competitive, and you're more than likely going to get left out in the rain and in the cold after you graduate architecture school.
Yeah, I'm going to be left out in the cold. I live in Alaska. What do you think, dude? You think it's all sunshine, rainbows, and northern exposure up here? No, it is cold. Right now, it is 23 degrees and it's snowing. Actually, it's sleeting. It's sleeting and there's a moose going down my block. So, yes, I'm going to get left out in the cold. But, yes, I do understand what he's saying. But then again, there's ways to combat that. There's a lot of ways to combat that. Sometimes you got to move where the work is. Sometimes you got to flex that little, hey, I went to this school, and hope that your alumni network can get you. If not, boy, yeah, he's right. It's going to be cold out there. Let's let him get his money. Okay, enough of that.
School. It's like really competitive. In our state, we had 250 graduates last year, and I don't know exactly how many, but my first year tutor told me that only 5 of them ended up getting a job in architecture straight after graduating anyways. That is just 2% of the cohort that ended up working in the profession after.
Please understand that just because you get into architecture does not mean you have to take a job in actual architecture. There's all kinds of things you can do with that degree. You can just do BIM coordination. You could just do Revit. You can do stage design. You could do world building for movies and video games. You can do jewelry design. You can do graphic design. There are so many other things other than just being an architect or being a draftsman or being an interior designer, architectural designer, landscape designer. There's so many other things. So always keep that in mind. But if your goal, like me, is to be a draftsman, you don't need to be a full-blown architect, but it does have its quirks to have everything, to have all the qualifications met.
Graduating. So it is extremely competitive, and you've got to be ready for that. Number 8 is then once you get into the profession, the pay sucks for the start anyways. In fact, working part-time at the moment while studying, I'm earning more per hour than what architecture students make if they're working as a student of architecture. Now, I'm not saying I'm earning a lot of money working in retail. I'm saying I'm working minimum wage, and it's still more than what architecture students make if they're working in a firm. Number 9 is that you do have to study some things that you probably don't want to have to study. There are so many different things you need to learn in architecture schools, such as design, theory, history, construction, laws, codes, building requirements, all of this kind of stuff, and you probably don't want to have to study all of that stuff. You might not enjoy studying one of these things. For example, I hate writing essays and studying theory, architectural theory, but that's something I have to do. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like studying architecture, is because you're forced to study some things that you don't want to do. And then there's further...
Well, have you ever been to architecture school and had to study folk music appreciation or underwater basket weaving? And I only go to underwater basket weaving so much because that is an actual course. And there is an honors class for underwater basket weaving. So, yeah, I'd rather do architectural history and design theory and steel structure and concrete and codes and conduct and this, that, and the other than know how to hold my breath underwater while weaving a basket.
It's on into number 10, which is that once you're actually in the profession after you graduate and you get a job, you're still not going to be doing what you want to do 100% of the time. A lot of architecture students especially think that they're going to be going into the field and just designing cool buildings and, you know, doing a lot of artwork and this kind of stuff. But that just isn't the case. A lot of interns and graduates actually have the job of technical drawing or detailing up a bathroom, drawing window schedules and door schedules, just not fun stuff. In fact, they're rarely involved in the design aspects of a project. And this leads on to my point, which is architecture is probably at most 20% design and 80% law, building codes, construction, theory, history, and a lot of other stuff. Number 11 is that architecture just isn't as cool as Ted Mosby makes it out to be.
True.
The 12th reason not to study architecture is because of the hustle culture. You know, the more time you put into a project, the better it's going to be. And because architecture projects are really never ending, there's always something you can change. There's always something that you can implement or add on to or subtract from your design. It makes it this never ending hustle that just keeps on going and going and going until someone puts an end to it. Number 13 is that when we say study, what we actually mean is produce. There isn't a whole lot of studying for exams or tests like you would in medicine school or biology or becoming an electrician. When architecture students say that they're studying, it doesn't mean that they're sitting back watching lectures or sitting in their bed reading a book. What they mean is that they're putting in hard work to produce drawings and renders and models and just create things. Number 14 is that it is...
No, when I say I'm studying, what I mean is I'm trying to get the right camera angle so I can put it on YouTube and make y'all think I'm actually really studying when really I'm just really screwing off and watching YouTube. By the way, shout out to Kyle and shout out to one of my favorite YouTubers in the world, Miss Shea Butter. Go follow Miss Shea Butter.
It's a long way before you can call yourself an architect. In fact, it's probably 5 to 7 plus years. And number 15 is that not everybody is fit for architecture. And now that
And that is very true. Not everyone is fit for architecture. Some people are fit for engineering. Some people are fit for graphic design. Some people are fit for jewelry design. Some people are fit to do video game world building. And once again, I harp on the world building because even though, yes, you are just designing one video game, sometimes, man, that could, if you can negotiate something, you can really hit a lick. So I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm going to say do it. Hey, if video game world building or set design is your thing, go for it.
convince you not to study architecture, I'm going to switch off my hat and put on my positivity hat because these, as you might have noticed, are all things that you can control. And I want to share 15 reasons why these things shouldn't bother you. So let's work backwards, starting with number 15. A lot of people aren't fit for architecture, and they'll let you know about it. They'll try to talk you out of studying architecture because it's this horrific experience you're going to have. And that's okay if other people don't have great experiences from architecture school, but this shouldn't discourage you, and you shouldn't let it discourage you. What I'm trying to say is that just because other people have had bad experiences and they weren't able to find a job after graduating architecture school, and they've talked about how intense it was and how bad it was, it's like they would try to step on your own dreams and try to crush it. Like,
yeah, I've been told this one before. You know, someone else tried to do it. They couldn't do it. So what makes me think I can do it? Well, number one, I'm not you. I'm not an idiot. Okay. Number two, I just don't give up when things get hard. I keep going. And number three, your mama.
you're crushing like a block of sand in your hands. And all you can say to those people is just, fuck you. No, but it's actually okay to listen to their horror
No. Fuck you and walk away.
stories and to take their opinion, but just know that that's their opinion about architecture school. It's not going to be the same for you. Therefore, you probably shouldn't let that opinion discourage you from choosing architecture as something to study. If you let that influence your decision, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you might really enjoy it and they've probably just had a crappy time because it wasn't for them. It doesn't mean it's not.
Or maybe they just couldn't hack it. Maybe they just didn't have what it took to get through it. Or maybe it just wasn't for them, and that's fine. If it's not for you, it's fine. But if you try to bring someone else down from doing what they're trying to do because it didn't work for you, your mom's a hoe, and your grandma's a hoe, and your dad's a cuck, and your grandfather is probably a PDF file.
You. And I can tell you from experience that not everyone has a horrible time studying architecture. Number 14 was that it's a long time before you can call yourself an architect. And this doesn't mean that you can't work on architectural projects for 5 to 7 years. It just means you can't call yourself an architect and you can't sign off on your own projects. It's a long ride, sure, but when you enjoy the work you do and you're passionate about what you do, that time flies by and it doesn't seem like it's a problem to you not being a registered architect. I've heard from so many architects who have rushed their way through, they've finished their masters and they've just tried to smash out their registration as soon as possible because it's this goal to achieve. But then once they receive their registration, they're like, oh, Is that it? It's something to aim at, but it's not going to change your life having registration and calling yourself an architect. The things you work on every single day is what matters. Number 13 was where it's not about studying, but it's about producing work. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion anyways. I freaking hate studying for exams, and I'm a slow reader and I just can't do tests, so being a more productive degree, it's a lot better for me. In fact, I've actually found producing work is the best way to learn. Studying for an exam is like you're studying for something that you might need to know in the future, but you don't need to know right now. You then have to retain that information until the day you need it, which 99% of the time you forget that information 2 to 7 days after doing the exam, and then you might not even need to know that information down the track. Producing is like not knowing anything to start with, but then coming across problems and questions as you go along the way. It's then a matter of finding answers to those questions and solving those problems along the way as you move forward so that you can progress. So it's like this on-demand problem solving rather than trying to study and cram everything into one test or one exam like you would studying for medicine or something. It's really a practical and pragmatic way of learning, and it's really going to be helpful for retaining information. Rather than studying for something you might not ever need to know, you're just learning things that are going to be practical to you in that moment, that are going to stick with you forever because you're actually applying that knowledge into taking action. Number 12 was hustle culture, and this always comes back to managing your time, organizing yourself, sticking to a schedule. Architectural projects don't have an end, so you can continue to refine and add and subtract things until the end of eternity. And so in that case, you need to set yourself deadlines. Set yourself deadlines. That's the key thing there. You need to set yourself deadlines. And if you stay disciplined to those deadlines and keep a schedule, this hustle culture is not going to be an issue. It's all well to work hard, but you need to be able to work smart as well. It's about working hard and working smart, not one or the other. Number 11, Ted Mosby is cool. Architecture is cool. We all know that, so let's move on. Number 10 was that you won't always get the chance to do what you want to do, and that's just life. But you don't know what you like doing until you start doing it. Therefore, you might find yourself enjoying something that you've never tried before. For example, the marketing side of architecture, or...
That is one of the very truest things in the world. Just no matter what you get, try something new. You may not always get those glamorous big mansions or subdivisions or stadiums or this, that, and the other, but always be willing to try something new, because it's always when you try something new, you might find something better that you love and you might get hooked on it. But always keep trying new things.
Technical drawing or looking at engineering drawings, you might be able to change your path completely just by doing. Just because you have to do something that's not native to you and it's something different that you haven't done before, or maybe it's something you don't enjoy doing, well, maybe you can find ways to enjoy that thing and to make it into a positive for you. It's not necessarily a bad thing that architecture isn't just one thing. It's not just design. It's good to have a mix of trades and skills involved so that you're not just always working on the same thing in your career. Number 9 is similar to number 10, which is where you're not going to be always working on what you want to work on in architecture school. For me, I hate writing essays, but I find ways that I can enjoy it. And I'm actually quite good at writing essays now, even though it's not something I like doing. In fact, I hate writing essays. I can say that with a passion. But rather than complaining about writing an essay, I find and look for ways that make me lit up about writing an essay. I find ways to enjoy doing that task of writing an essay. And that's the thing, you won't enjoy everything you do in architecture school, and you won't enjoy everything you do in anything, but you can look at the positives of that thing and try to find ways to make it more enjoyable. Number 8 is about the pay of an architect, which is apparently not that high, but that's the thing. The more you know, and the more skills you have, the more value you have to offer, then the more you're going to be getting paid.
Once again, that does depend on what you decide to do when you're in school. What other classes do you take? Do you take the photography class? Do you get your BIM certification? Do you get your Revit certification? Do you get your AutoCAD certification? Those certifications are going to mean you could work on that stuff exclusively when other people can't touch it. BIM coordinators make pretty good money. Photographers in real estate and architecture make really good money. Now, they're not mind-blowing amounts, but if you get really good at it, if you get really good at rendering, you can make really good side hustles to the point you just decide, I'm just going to render. I'm just going to do BIM. I'm just going to do drafting. But that depends on how well you adapt to stuff like that.
And that's the thing, your pay grows with experience. In fact, in Australia, your salary typically doubles over the first 10 years of your career. And if you have a passion for architecture and it's something you consume yourself in, you'll find ways to monetize it and make more money from it because you'll be getting better at it and you have more value to offer because you're so passionate about what you do. An architect's pay is something that you can control, as are all of these things that are shitty about architecture school, for lack of a better word. Number 7, yes, it's going to be difficult finding a job in architecture. It is extremely competitive, but don't look at it as if you've got 250 students who you're competing against. Just find ways to make it better for you, to give yourself better chances at getting employed. Find ways to make yourself more valuable. Don't compare yourself with others. Don't try and make this a competition with your classmates. Find ways that you can make yourself one of those 5 students who ended up getting a job after graduating. Don't look at it as if it's something that's really unattainable, because yes, it might be difficult, but you can do it. And if you build up that mindset of that you're in that top 2%, then you're going to be unstoppable. You're going to be able to find work in architecture. Number 6 was about brutal criticism. Yes, brutal criticism is apparent in architecture, but criticism is best served brutal, in my opinion. If your design teachers always pat you on the back and tell you how well you're doing, are you really going to be learning anything? Sure, it sucks to get told that your project isn't great, but if no one told you that, then you wouldn't be trying to look for ways to improve it. You won't be trying to progress your skills and knowledge of architecture. By willingly and understanding.
One of the biggest things is your professors are not just going to push you to do better. They're going to also make sure you don't do the same thing more than once. Because yes, there are people that try to do the same thing all 4 years, actually all 5 years, and think that nobody's going to notice. No, people notice. You're not slick. You know, you think you're getting away with something. You're not getting away with it. But you could think it all you want to.
Accepting criticism and feedback in architecture school. That's your path. That's your key to getting better and improving. Number 5 was where it costs a lot of money, but that's the thing. It's expensive if you buy dumb shit. Just don't buy dumb shit. I've got a lot of videos on how to save money in architecture school. In fact, I've got a whole chapter of my free course, 70 Hacks for Archi Students, which talks about saving money as an architecture student. And there's also a couple of videos. I'll link them up above.
I might react to that video as well. But yes, do not buy dumb shit. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to be on your syllabus that they're going to, on your supply list, they're going to tell you, you should buy this, you should buy that, you should buy this, you should do that. And to be honest with you, some of that stuff you're only going to use once or twice and throw it away, or you're never going to use it and you're probably going to take it on the first job with you and they're going to look at you like, what do you got that for? Throw that away. So some things, I say, check with people and see if they actually used it in the classes before you. If they haven't, don't get it. But then again, it'll be just the one time you don't get it is when you'll need it.
But do check them out. Don't go spending $6,000 on a laptop when you can go to Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or any of these second-hand sites to buy one for a third of the price. It can actually be a really cheap course to study, believe it or not. Not including university fees. Those things cost a ton and they're freaking overpriced and unavoidably expensive. Number 4 was sometimes you forget to eat. And I've had this problem a couple of times actually, but it's more for the sake that I've been working really hard on I'm in my flow state when working on a project and I haven't realized how much time has gone past and I've just forgotten to eat. But if you're in that situation where you're setting yourself or telling yourself, I can't eat because I'm stressed, I've got to get this project done, that's not a good thing. And you can manage that.
Eat, just go ahead and eat. You know, if nothing, grab a protein shake.
You can control that so that you're not in that situation. Number 3 was that there's no downtime and there's no relaxing time, and that's just not true. If you schedule yourself, if you organize your time, which I talk about in a lot of my other videos, so do check them out, it's not going to be a problem. You can still have a social life, you can still spend a lot of time with friends, and you can still play video games, you can still do whatever you want to do. Your life isn't revolving around architecture. It's just another thing that you can control. However, a lot of architecture students let their time control them, which is where a lot of us feel like we don't have any free time, we don't have any downtime, but It's just not the case. You can control that. Number 2 was about group work. And group work can be a good thing or a bad thing. But for me, I find that I do have times where I've had shitty groups and I've had partners who don't show up. I had some partners who didn't show up for the entire semester and I got the blame for it, and I ended up almost failing a project because no one showed up. But this is also a great learning experience and a great way to practice leadership and getting involved with managing other people. In the profession of architecture and anywhere in real life, you're going to be dealing with people, and it's a good skill to practice. In fact, working in a team is the best way to get more done, and there are huge benefits to working in a group. Number 1 was that yes, it's intense, but if it was easy, everyone would be an architect, and who wants that? Of course, it's not going to be easy. However, it's definitely worth it, and I encourage you to study architecture, get involved, and just give it a shot, because there's no other way to find out if it's for you or not. Sometimes you just got to jump in with 2 feet and go for it. Thank you guys so much for watching it to the end. I always appreciate you guys. I love that you guys watch it all the way.
Do me a favor, go check out his channel, Kyle Cinco. Like and subscribe to his videos, and also like this video, subscribe to my channel. I hope everyone has a good evening or morning or whenever I post this.